We did a lot of theory this morning, a lot of understanding the whys. We're going to try to drive in and get everybody to go start to finish, make sure we get a guide start to finish, try to get a print initiated and completed before we get out of here today. So let's go back to Blue Sky. We're still doing our setup. Every time we open the software, it's kind of nice just to get all the windows set up into a consistent fashion that you're really used to, because if it's always changing, it gets confusing. Like, wait, I used to have a button over here, now that button's gone. So let's break up a couple different quick topics here. We talked about all this in the black is called the view. And the view, there's a few different ways to view it. If you see this panel up here, this little toolbar up here called view, you'll notice there's a bunch of different ways to view your screen. This is called like the 5, the tangential 5, where you've got 5 different views of your scene here. This is the one that I like to do. It's a little bit, takes some time to get used to because you've got 5 different views at different things. It's maybe a little bit complex, but if you just get used to kind of seeing that, it seems to be my preferred approach, because you kind of are seeing the case from all different angles when you're setting things up, and that way you're not, doing one angle and the other angle's off. So you can change your view, but this is the 5, and this is the 5 view right here, the tangential 5. Each of these little windows is its own little window that you can hit this button to maximize it and take up the full screen, and then minimize it to go back down, back into where it was. And so sometimes it's really hard to look at things when it's small, so you can hit this and blow up a window. So that's our view. Our toolbars are up on the top. So we have all these different tools up here on the top. That's called the toolbar up here. We've got the module bar, which we already went over. That's where we're in the advanced surgical guide module. So we're still kind of setting everything up. So we're in the tangential 5 view. We're in the advanced surgical guide module. And then over here, right here, is all your panels. And your panels are little tabs. And so this right here has just got 2 panels open. The implant list, the model manipulation. It's important to know that this panel section over in here gives you the option to turn on and off all these different panels. And I want you guys to see this, because you might go, hey, why does his screen have that and mine doesn't? If you look at panels, all of these are available panels that can show up here on the right. And so what I suggest, if we're doing an implant, I would suggest turning on the surfaces panel, the implant list panel, which is already on mine, the model manipulation panel, which is already on mine, and the tooth list panel, because this is any teeth that we drag into the case, and then the guide fabrication panel. So the guide panel. So if you guys get these 5 panels showing over here, you're in the advanced surgical guide module, and you get these 5 panels lined up, you'll be able to do the steps that we're going to walk through here on these 5. Because if some of these aren't showing up, it means you haven't got them selected up in there in that panel's toolbar. So if we have these, we can do pretty much all the different tools we want to do. So let's go to this surfaces panel. The top tab here is called our surfaces panel. And this is basically shows us an overview of all the STL surfaces that we have in our scene. Right now, all we have is an upper scan. And that was that upper STL that we brought in for the upper jaw. And there's a check mark for visible, so that means it's visible, it's in the scene. And then there's a hint. Hint means it turns off on and off that green line there. So that green line, as I'm clicking it and unclicking it, it's turning on and off the hint. That's basically the outline of it. If we drop down into the CT surfaces, you can see this is our cone beam. So our cone beam, we only got 1 cone beam in here. That's usually all we're dropping into the scene. And I usually will go ahead and uncheck the visible on the cone beam, because down in here, the cone beam is very distracting for me. Like we've moved past to the point where we've aligned our models. We don't need that cone beam showing in there, because occasionally I'm going to want to maximize this little window down in here and be able to kind of look at my scene. So this lower left window down in here is my model that I can roll around and I can look at it. And this monitor, this projector is pretty low resolution, so you guys might have a better view than I do. But when I blow this up, I can kind of look at my STL. And this is where we're actually going to put an implant, number 13 we're going to plan this implant here. So we've got our cone beam hidden. We've got our models aligned. We've got our setup ready. We're in the right module. Everything is ready to go and start planning an implant. Now, we talked about before tooth-driven, prosthetically driven dentistry. So if we have a critical area where prosthetically driven dentistry is super important, like up in the anterior, we usually want to start with bringing a tooth in first so that we know this is our planned tooth. We support that. I want to walk you guys through this. Is an easy case. It's a posterior tooth. It's straightforward, slam dunk. There's bone, and we all know where a premolar implant should be. So we're gonna not, for this first case, not put a tooth in first because we just want to do a simple surgical guide and get you guys through this.